Sup nerds, I'm Tom. Today we're going to talk about a game that's, in a word... Imagineers is a game that was on Kickstarter. I don't think I have the Kickstarter version. I'm pretty certain this is the retail version. Basically, you're all building a theme park, or I think you're all building like the same theme park, and you're working on your ride and trying to incentivize people to come to your rides, whatever. Thematically, I think that's how it works. The main mechanic is a Mancala type mechanic, where you're going to be building rides out onto the main board, and also on your upgrading your personal little roller coaster thing here, where you're going to pick up a group of all these little meeples, and then you're going to go drop, and whenever you drop them, the same color meeple on the same color ride, that's what triggers the abilities of the like benefits, the either happiness or money, or I think it's just happiness and money. Oh, there's points on some things too. Since everybody is building on this common board, it's possible that you trigger somebody else's building, in which they get a benefit and you get a benefit as well. But when you land on your like entrance tile is what it's called, then you trigger your personal roller coaster, which has tons of different beefed up things. Like whenever you draw tiles to place out, you either place them out on the board or on your little thing, and they're double-sided. So this is what the ability would be, what the benefits would be if it was built out on the board, and this is the benefits would be if it was built out on your personal roller coaster. And every turn there is a movement card that is flipped up and an event card. An event card is just a special thing that changes the rules, and the movement is a specific restriction almost on which groups you get to pick up. Like for example, this one you have to move only a group of 2. So in that, I reached out and picked up a group of 3. I couldn't do that in that round. This one says move group with at least 1 red guest. This one is another move one with at least this one says group with no red. Now, if I don't sound very enthusiastic while I'm explaining to you how the game works, it's because this game just fell flat for me. It's not a bad game. I wasn't saying I hate this game while I was playing it, and I've definitely done that. I've definitely been playing a game and I've just been like, this sucks. But I think the game was just overall pretty boring and mediocre, and not a lot happens. It's kind of drab. Okay, so building on your personal roller coaster thing, that's really strong and really powerful. It's not going to trigger all the time, so you don't want to just focus on that, because you may not be able to pick up a clump and drop one, the right color, I think it's red, on your opening gate tile thing to be able to trigger it. And obviously no other player is going to ever trigger it, right? You're going to try and trigger other players' buildings and rides and stuff as little as possible, but you're going to avoid, like the plague, triggering their big roller coaster thing, because they get a lot of stuff from that. Unless it's maybe the very first round of the game, that is not that big a deal. But as they build it up, yeah, it's a really big deal. And there's negative points on here if you don't build it up. So not only are you incentivized because it's just really strong to do, you're incentivized because there's straight up negative points on there. You're going to get points just for doing it, basically. The biggest problem that I have with this game is that it's just almost too simple. And simple isn't a problem for games. Especially if they're light and quick, they only take 30 minutes. They're like a travel size game, like a light little card game. Those can be fun. But this game, for me, it's just okay, I'm looking out. All right, I'll pick these guys up and blup, blup, blup. Okay, I got a couple of things. Happiness is a thing you gain. Whenever you gain, it's like this little circle track. Whenever you gain, your 6th happiness, is you get a point. So you're picking up fractions of a point as the game goes on. I like that idea of this other resource that isn't just, spent for game. Okay, so there's money and points, right? Those are the 2 main resources of the game. And this thing, happiness, is another thing that advances on this little track, a little circular track, right? But it's just fractions of points. If whenever you cross that threshold to get a point, instead of getting a point, it triggered something else, or it gave you a new ability or something, but just the fact that it's just more points, I was like, all right. And the movement restriction cards, honestly, it feels like they're in there to maybe mitigate the idea that some, there could be just some randomness where, wow, this is just perfectly set up. I'll pick up all these things here, and I'll drop, this blue here, this red here, this yellow here, and they're all mine, and I just got crushed, But they just felt restrictive and silly. It's well, okay, well, I would want to trigger this right here, but I can't. Just because it says don't do it. It says you have to pick a non-red. Okay. Awesome. You know what I mean? It felt like unnecessary. It felt like it was there, to serve a purpose for balancing issues or whatever, not to increase the fun. And there isn't all that, again, there's not that much fun to be had. I mean, the events deck, I guess, is kind of okay, cool, having something new every single round or whatever. But again, it just felt almost like it was designed up to the point where they're like, okay, this is a game now. This is a game that you can play. It makes sense. It's balanced, and we're done. Now, again, it's Kickstarted, so maybe there's more content or whatever, but it really felt like it's like, okay, you've got it to the very, very bare minimum of it being a game. Now make it good. Now work on increasing it, adding more mechanics, refining things, or, like even all these different choices from all the different buildings, they're not that different, There's slight variations from each other. And I mean, and like the cost is always going to be 7, so when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, that's a 4. I know there's a 3 on the other side. And that's mostly what it is. It's an awful lot of 4-3 splits, because those are the most balanced ones. Also, the component quality isn't all that great either. I mean, for the 900th time, this game was Kickstarted, and this is the retail edition, but it's just plain meeples. Not like the art isn't bad. It's just very plain. It looks very clip arty, very basic. Like, especially this board. Look at how bland this board is. There's all this empty space and all this tiny little, well, they're not, the tiles are reasonably sized, but compared to the board when you play, like even when the board is full of tiles, the board doesn't look busy or even like complete. It still looks like there's a lot of blank areas. Like we have this huge section in the middle here for the movement cards, the event cards, and this point scoring track thing. Like it's like you're trying to justify this game taking up the amount of table space that it is, and it really doesn't work. Like I guess if the tiles were a little bit bigger, then you have to make the player boards bigger or whatever. I know, but it's almost like it's like there's issues with the game that they just said, okay, well then we'll just do this. It's actually kind of weird that I didn't like this game because I know the designer Chris Leder, the other guy I'm not really familiar with, but I know Chris Leder has done some really good games, and I'm kind of surprised that this one just fell so flat for me, and it's not just for me. I played a 4-player game, and afterwards, every single person at the table went, yeah, I don't ever want to play that again. Yeah, like even like towards the end of the game, there was none of those moments where it's like, oh, I'm gonna do it, oh, I'm gonna get there. Like there aren't even that many combos because you can't. I think 4 is the maximum of, or maybe you can't. Yeah, I think 4 is the maximum. You can't place a 5th one. So like, okay, I'm gonna pick up these 4, which is very rare, and I'm gonna drop. And are you really gonna trigger 4 things of your own? Probably not. So like towards the end, there are some combos that you can do, but even then, it's just kind of like, oh, this big combo gets me 3 whole points. Or probably not. Probably, I think the biggest combo I got like 6 or 7 or whatever points, because I got like 15 happiness or something. Usually from doing my what is this? The personal coaster thing. But like I have to count up all the happiness and then count up the points on this other hand here. It just felt like it's not a bad idea. It's not the core of the game isn't terrible, but there should have been so much more. It's just not that great, kind of weak. I didn't really like it. Don't want to keep it. Probably not going to keep it in my, probably never going to play it again. But if any of what I was talking about in this video sounds interesting to you, look, we put purchase links to all of our games in the description box. We always do it, okay? So buy it or don't. Like maybe you buy it out of spite for me because you always disagree with me, or it's like everything Tom says, I do the opposite. Haha. Also, I did say that this game does take up a lot of space on the table. I have this tiny little card table in my apartment. It's not an awesome Game Toppers table. Here's one positive thing about this video. You should check out Game Toppers. Link in the description box down below. Look at it right here. It's awesome. Anyways, if you have actually played this game and you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. I really want to know, whenever I play a game and I'm just kind of blah, and especially since everybody else at the table with me was kind of blah, I'm always wondering, am I influencing them by looking like or saying that I'm not really having that great of a time and that I don't really like it? Because I always voice my concerns whenever I'm playing a game. I was like, oh, well, this is kind of silly. Well, why am I doing this? This feels a little clunky. So yeah, put it in the comments to let me know if you disagree or agree with me if you have played this game. And either way, while you're down there, you should definitely subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored. I'm talking real fast.